Clock. Coming up next is Exploring Music with Bill McLaughlin. This week, if you're a fan of Shakespeare, you'll get to enjoy a selection of music inspired by the Bard. And after that, at 8 o'clock, Angeli Dodia will bring you even more classical music to accompany you through the night until Morning Edition with Brett.
Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, April the 18th, 2016, and what a wonderful crowd we have here this evening. The place is absolutely jam-packed, which I think is absolutely terrific. And anyway, this is the start of the meeting, and I'll turn it over to Catherine for a moment here.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Catherine. And the first thing of order here is an Arbor Day proclamation that I'm going to read to everyone. Whereas in 1872, Julius Sterling Morton, who had become the Secretary of Agriculture under President Grover Cleveland, proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees. And whereas the resulting holiday, Arbor Day, was first observed in that state with the planting of more than 1 million trees. And whereas Arbor Day is now recognized throughout the nation and the world, reminding us that one person's initiative can make a lasting and meaningful difference. Whereas the City of Moscow and the Moscow Tree Commission are committed to a community forestry program that supports a safe, healthy, and attractive urban forest. And whereas trees are a renewable resource that yields fruit, nuts for food and profit, wood for construction, fuel for warmth, paper products, and a wide variety of other goods and materials. And whereas when properly selected, planted in the right places, intended properly, trees increase property values, add beauty, enhance economic vitality of business districts, cut heating and cooling costs, and provide buffers from traffic. And whereas trees intercept stormwater, reduce runoff and erosion, clean air and water, produce oxygen, slow climate change by absorbing carbon dioxide, provide habitat for wildlife and moderate air temperature, and whereas a healthy urban forest can bring a sense of vibrancy, of respite, adventure, or calm, escape or contentment, and connection to wild nature amidst asphalt and concrete. And whereas Arbor Day reminds us all of the timeless observation by its founders, J. Sterling Morton, that each generation takes the earth as trustees. And whereas to celebrate Arbor Day in Moscow, second-grade students in the Moscow Charter School will plant a dawn redwood at Hamilton Indoor Recreation Center at 1 p.m. Now, therefore, I, Bill Lambert, the mayor of the city of Moscow, do here proclaim April 29th, 2016 as Arbor Day in the city of Moscow, and I urge all citizens to support the planting of trees and to promote the well-being of this and future generations. Okay, with that, I will move on to the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I would second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Art and a second by Jim to approve the consent agenda as is. I will start the roll call with Catherine.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, and then we'll move on to item number 2, which is the confirmation and appointment of James Fry as police chief and the oath of office.
I would move confirmation of the appointment of James Fry as the police chief.
Second.
Okay, well, we've got a motion by Art and a second by Catherine to approve our new chief, James Fry, to be sworn in. I'll start the roll with Dan.
Aye.
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 Okay, Gary, you can take her over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Art.
Just wanted to thank everybody for showing up for the Arbor Day proclamation tonight.
I knew they were all excited, Gary, to hear the mayor read that.
Only once a year can you get that chance.
So,
I'm happy tonight to announce, as everyone all knows, that Captain James Fry of the Moscow Police Department has been appointed by Mayor Lambert, subject to confirmation of the council, which he just did, as the third chief of police who's taken office since I've been here since 1992. We've got a great tradition. Chief Duke is here with his wife Jean as of tonight. Chief Fry will become our Chief of Police. Chief Duke will become ex officio in the department until he leaves the office. So without further ado, I'd ask the city clerk to come forward and administer the oath of office. Afterwards, Chief Duke will come forward. There will be a pinning ceremony to pin the chief's badge on. And afterwards, I'm imagining the mayor will want the chief to say a few words if he likes, and then we have a short reception after that ceremony. So with that, thank you.
You're out, range.
I, James Dale Fly Jr. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of Idaho, that I will enforce Moscow City ordinances, and will faithfully discharge all the duties of police chief of Moscow, Idaho, according to the best of my ability.
Mayor, it is our department tradition to recognize this promotion. We will now have a badge pinning ceremony. Chief Fry has selected his wife Julie to do this honor, so I ask Julie to come forward at this time. This police chief badge represents the authority and accountability of the leadership position you have just taken your oath of office to uphold. You are expected to distinguish yourself in a manner of humility, loyalty, courage, truth, and justice, because we expect no less, and we demand that you hold yourself to the highest values of the law enforcement position, at whatever the cost. By accepting this appointment, you will set the example to those under your command to serve the community with excellence, with an emphasis on safeguarding lives and property, protecting the innocent, keeping the peace, and ensuring the rights of all to liberty, equality, and justice.
Well, these pinnings are tough because I got to go through some layers there.
So, congratulations, Chief Fry.
Chiefs Fry and ladies and gentlemen here, and we've got so many wonderful men and women that are in law enforcement in our community that we're so very, very grateful. And as the mayor, I'm very grateful for that. So, Chief Fry, I have absolutely no reservation that you're going to do a terrific job. I told City Supervisor Riedner, I said, look at, this guy's earned his stripes. He deserves this. And I think James is one of the most sincere guys I've ever talked to on a one-on-one interview. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody in this room, that this guy here is going to be terrific. He's got tough shoes from former Chief Duke, who has been an absolute inspiration for all of us here. But with that, James, I've got complete confidence in you as well as this council that sits before you. And I would give you time, sir, to make a few comments.
It's kind of funny. My mom told me to write some stuff down, and I told her, no, I'll just wing it. But as things got closer, I thought, I probably should write some stuff down. Mayor Lambert, City Supervisor Riedner, members of the council, I do want to thank you. This is a great, great honor. I started out as a reserve here and worked my way all through the ranks, and now I'm at the ultimate goal of my career, and I want to thank you all for that. You always got to thank your mom and dad, because they're the ones that got you to where you're at today, and my wife and my 4 kids, for your patience and support. And I need to say thank you to Chief Duke. He mentored me through my career, helped me through many, many tough times and taught me what I know today. But even more important than that, thanks for being a good friend. For the rest of you, the community and law enforcement, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And I look forward to moving forward with you guys and protecting our community. And that's the ultimate thing that we do every day is we give back to our community and take care of them. And we don't take that lightly. So I thank you guys for being here tonight and being here during this time. And I look forward to this time. So thank you.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a 15-minute recess so that James and everybody can go out in the foyer that would like to congratulate him, and he can meet members of the community as well as getting congratulated by this council. So we will adjourn for 15 minutes, and then we'll resume our regular order of business. Okay, everybody, we will resume our meeting. And that was a wonderful time and a wonderful experience for all of us. Now we're on item number 4, which is public comment and mayor's response period. We set aside 15 minutes for the public to get up and speak, and as long as they tell us what their name is, and as long as it's not anything that is before the council tonight or before planning and zoning or the Board of Adjustments. And if you do want to speak, please state your name and address and come on up.
Good evening. My name is Tim Gressback. I live at 614 South Adams Street. My business is at 210 East 7th Street. And just quickly wanted to update you on the ice rink. We have a new addition this week. Like most of the progress with the ice rink, the new addition was with the help of volunteers. Moscow Building Supply donated the lift. There's a new huge sign out on the ice rink as you now drive down Mountain View to the north. That's the introduction to what I call the Moscow Recreation Corridor. And so what's in that recreation corridor now? We have the ice rink, the new ball fields, the tennis courts, the soccer fields, the skate park, Egan Youth Center, the football field, the track, original baseball field, the aquatic center, the Herc, and the furthest north, Mountain View Park. So,
Wow, that was impressive. You could say that in one breath, Tim. It's amazing.
I applaud this council and mayor for getting the ball fields done. The community's ecstatic. And I think it fits in. You know, when we have visitors come now, they see our downtown and they say it has a vibe. There's new restaurants. There's things happening. We have this burgeoning farmers market. So popular and successful. But then when they come and visit and they go down our recreation corridor, they say, there is a city that invests in its youth. And Mayor, you talk about having a city that we can raise our kids. Maybe they'll go get educated somewhere else and they could come back. Having a city where they would come back and maybe raise a family. Well, this recreation corridor is the type of thing that will make it attractive to them. And what we like to say at the ice rink, along the theme of swearing in the great new chief, kids on ice don't get in hot water. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much, Tim. And, you know, just one plug for the ball fields, because 2 weeks from today is our grand opening, May the 2nd. So for the entire community, that is going to be a fun, fun day. We're looking forward to it, Tim. So thank you very much. Okay, others.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, although I'm sad to see we're missing Walter and John. I'm John Freeland, 815 West C, Moscow. I'm the Republican candidate for State Senate here in Legislative District 5, and I just wanted to introduce myself. I know Bill Gosling. I know you all already know me, but Bill Gosling, he got up here 2 weeks ago, and he's one of the House candidates for Seat 5A here in this district, and he introduced himself, so I thought I would too. I'm a right-of-center Republican, not too far right. We need to invest more in education in this district, expand Medicaid, and really make some progress on some big things. And I look forward to having that conversation with everybody. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be hanging around for a little while afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Darrell Kime. I'm at 617 South Logan is my home residence. I'm here to talk about the Latah Recovery Center for just a minute or two. Tim Gressbeck just talked about investing in our youth. The Recovery Center is about investing in all of our citizens. What I wanted to report on is our numbers. We opened September 1, and we are volunteer run, by the way. Since September 1, we've had 260 referrals to community resources. We've had 1,940 12-step program participants. We've had 178 different recovery coaching sessions. That's kind of like life coaching for people that have addictions or mental health issues. And I want to emphasize 178 because that program didn't start for us until December. So in just a few months, we've had that many sessions. We've had 857 attendees of our various classes and groups. We have a rotating calendar that I put out every month of different classes and groups. Some of them are budgeting, nutrition. Some of them are more mental health related or addiction related. So wide variance. open to the public, by the way, and offered for free. And crucially, when we talk about Moscow, we talk about how the people are always so civic-minded. We're a volunteer effort, and we've had people volunteer 680 times for a total of 2,586 hours since September 1. We couldn't do it without volunteers. It's our lifeblood. It's what makes us work. For the council members, I have a small handout, if you like. I'll leave it here for you guys.
That'd be
Thank
great,
you for your
Daryl.
time tonight.
Thank you, Daryl. And I want to talk just a moment about the Recovery Center because they had a wonderful breakfast last Tuesday morning, which I was there, as well as several counselors from up here. And the more I'm around and hear about the Recovery Center and talk to various individuals, that is a very integral part of our community. You're absolutely right, Daryl. And it's for citizens, and there's a very huge need for us, and it's something that I think is a wonderful thing for us to have. And Tom Stroshine is the pioneer for that, for our area. So I'm going to put a plug in for Tom because he twisted my arm well before I knew what the heck he was even talking about several years ago. So that guy is very persistent, and it's making a difference in our community. Okay, others want to come up?
Mayor, members of the council, just wanted to take a brief minute to show you a product that we've been working on for a while. It's not on our regular agenda. So
by the way, this is Les McDonald.
Public Works Director. Address is that building right there. So I had the honor this last summer of attending a week-long workshop with the mayor on the design of bicycle facilities in the city of Portland. And that has led to some interesting discussions in our Transportation Commission. The Transportation Commission has been working on a bicycle network plan and associated signage, wayfinding, and other features for some time. And the Commission has just wrapped up that effort. And so that's something that will be coming forward to the City Council in the near future for consideration of an overall bicycle network plan for adoption for the City of Moscow. But the first piece of that actually started last fall with the installation of some sharrows out on the street network. Folks have wondered what those are, and I'll show you in a second just what they look like. But that is a route on the eastern part of the city, passes right out here on 2nd Street down Main and loops around the east side of town for our first greenway. And a greenway is somewhat of a specialized bike route that is intended to provide a route that people would be comfortable riding, maybe those that aren't that comfortable in heavier traffic or higher speed situations, place you're comfortable taking your children, enjoyable afternoon, weekend ride, those types of things. So those sharrows are in place. The next step is to put up the signs, and then we anticipate having a ribbon cutting with the mayor later this spring and hopefully a ride all the way around to try it out. But what I wanted to show you this evening is the signage that we have developed that will be the bike route sign on the greenway system. And this is what it looks like. I will tell you the colors are slightly off in the video. This is the sign here if the folks want to get a little better picture or idea of what the color scheme is. And I will hand this to the mayor as well, or to the council to look at.
Thanks.
So the intent of this sign is to mark the route itself as the Moscow Greenway, something that Tyler Palmer and I have been working on with a local artist named Jani Stratichuk. I have a tough time with her name. Jani is a local graphic artist that helped us come up with several design concepts and ultimately settled on this one. Talk about a couple of the features. You obviously see the green background that's associated with typical bike facilities. Through the base of the sign, a little bit of street network that you see in some buildings, generally shown as a background. The Moscow Greenway title at the bottom, and then this symbol at the top. And that's a symbol that people may recognize, they may not at first, but if you think about if you pick up your phone or your computer today and you pull up a map application and you look up a location, what do you get? You get a pin. And that's the shape of that pin right there. So it's something that we think folks will relate to because they're used to seeing it on mapping on their phone, their home computer, whatever it may be. Within the pin area, We're trying to show some of the characteristics of the greenway. So it is a on-street system. You see this Sharrow symbol, which is what the bike and the two chevron arrows, that's called a Sharrow. Those are out on the street today, marking that this is a route that's a shared facility for bicycles and cars on the street section. Then obviously it is along a greenway in our residential east side of town, Fort Russell District, and all the way around. So you'll see the trees that are similar to that with the canopy over the top, houses that kind of peek up through the trees in various places, and obviously back in the background, the rolling hills and the Paradise Ridge, Moscow Mountain type of skyline. So anyway, that's what it looks like. The sign order is being placed, I think, tomorrow morning, and we anticipate having those signs here within the next couple of weeks. Streets Department will get them installed, and then look forward to scheduling a ribbon cutting with the mayor so we can get that first ride on around the system.
Well, I got to share with you, Les and I went to Portland last summer, Portland State University, where we spent a week there riding bikes, and we were all over the place. And the first day, we shot right downtown Portland. I thought, holy smokes, if I get out of here without my life being taken in a week, well, I'm going to do this thing all the time. So I had an absolute very good time with Les and a bunch of us. I don't know how many there was altogether. I know there was like 40,000 that one Sunday we rode.
Yes, Sunday Greenways, yes.
It was absolutely amazing. But the green that you see in here in Portland, they paint their streets these huge green colors. I said to Les, I said, gosh, you think we could do anything like that? I mean, I think it was amazing because you'd get it pretty quick what that's all about. So that's pretty impressive. And so this is a big deal for our community. We are a biking community. Yes, I bike. I'm not the bikester that Jim Bolin over here to the left of me is. This guy, he rides bikes to Mexico. But I will be more than happy to go around town. I bet we could get Jim to come with us and probably Catherine. So, yeah, let us know when that ribbon cutting is, and we'll ride our bike around there. That'll be great.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Les. Okay, any others who would like to come up? Okay, we are going to move on to item number 5, which is staff recognition report. Gary, you have the podium, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have one of our favorite staff recognition activities tonight. Tyler Palmer's here to introduce folks to both receive the Road Masters designation and the Road Scholar designation. So our street department folks are here to get rewarded for their hard work tonight. Tyler?
Thanks, Gary. Mayor, Council. Yeah, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and the time that's allotted in these meetings for staff recognition. It's such an important thing. The reason we're able to do the things we're able to do as efficiently as we can is because we have great staff. And a lot of that is good training. We have really committed people. As you guys are all aware, as we dive into budget season, how difficult it can be to fund and maintain a roadway system. One of the reasons that ours can keep going is just because we have top-notch people. It's amazing to have a group of well-trained people to get in a room together when they problem solve, because it's definitely not a top-down endeavor. A problem gets put on the table between all of us, and ideas come from everywhere, and we all save each other from making big mistakes. And it's very helpful. So it is a great honor to be here tonight. I'm really proud of these guys. We have Eric Halverson, who's receiving his Road Scholar, and AJ Dahlberg, who's receiving his Road Master. This represents countless classroom hours, several exams on a multitude of topics, everything from communication courses all the way through road base, through proper asphalt techniques, through basic surveying classes. It's really comprehensive, and that's the reason that things operate as smoothly as they do. So we're really proud of these guys and what they've been able to do. I believe we have some representatives from the T2 Center.
Right in the front row.
Here, there you are. And so if you don't mind, we'll turn the time to them for a brief presentation then.
Absolutely.
Mayor, council members, I could not have done it any better than what Tyler just went through. My name is Dan Kuntz, and I'm with the LTAC T2 Center, so local Highway Technical Assistance Council and the Technical Training Center. So it's a big conglomerate. Back when the two merged, that was back in 2009, And it's amazing how far our programs have developed. And it's truly a testament to your staff, because a lot of the information is coming to us. How can we develop a new type of class? What other classes can we develop for your staff? And so they give us that kind of information. So we really appreciate, the going back and forth between your staff and us. And the three things that LTAC and the T2 Center has is we advocate, we support, and we train. Pretty simple. That's what we do for all jurisdictions, and primarily that's what I'm here today to kind of celebrate, just to kind of add on what you guys have already done, your staff. And really, it's a program that's been developed, and we continue on making changes because of the input that we get. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention, is that we have a innovative award that we are asking folks to submit on, which is due in August. And what that is how does your staff operate? Is there things that they're doing that maybe nobody else in the state is doing? And what we do is we celebrate it by, at least for the individual, we'll give them a check, an award of a $250 award. Or if it's collectively done, then we actually will bring a class here. And we would have a class in this area. Just last year we did the first one, and that was on the West Camas Prairie area. And they're starting to figure out what they want as a class. So it's been really successful. So without further ado, I don't want to take any more of your time, but without further ado, Eric? Eric couldn't make it tonight. Okay. Ooh. I got an award for him. And then Alan Dahlberg? Let's see, I gotta make sure I got everything. You get the big dog. Right? This is what you're really being on.
Been a few years in the making.
All right, Carl, nice.
That'll keep you warm.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And then you
Jen, do you want a picture with Tyler in it?
He moves too fast.
Yeah, maybe you should. Do you want to give it? No, you go ahead. I'll go on this side. Okay.
You want more just in case?
Congratulations.
Perfect.
Good
Thank
job. And then, do you want me to give you the?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take Erickson.
So he did this, but this is what he gets. Actually a hat and a Leatherman.
Nice.
Did I just give that to you?
Yeah.
A knife, Leatherman knife.
We're speaking about Eric right now, correct?
Yeah, Eric.
Tyler? Okay.
Yep. All right, and if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd invite AJ if he'd like to say anything, to say a few words.
Sure. I'll have a couple of words. Thanks for having me. This program's been pretty incredible. It's been 4 years in the making, a little over 4 years to get to this level of achievement. So a few of the things I like to speak about is from our side of it. You know, there's a few of the classes that we've taken, one that Roderick Hall, he would love, and it's our traffic control supervisor class. And our traffic control supervisor is one of them that takes basically everything that outlines the road system and allows us to put traffic control up. Traffic control. When you come into our work zones, it should be the same work zone in the state of Idaho as it is in the state of California and the state of Florida, all throughout the country. You come in and you should be able to feel, wow, there's a road work ahead sign. Something's going to happen here, you know. So you kind of check up on the brake, and hopefully some people might speed up a little bit, but. That's why we start, with, maybe a sign that says lane closed ahead, and then pretty soon we start necking you down and shifting the lanes, and then inadvertently you do slow down. And the significance of that is one of the classes that discussed the $1 million cone.
And the traffic control devices that we place are legally binding. If we misplace it, we're at fault. We've done our job wrong. We've put the city's liability at stake. And so we try and take every measure we can, follow the book, follow every single traffic control plan that we draw up to a T, so we don't have those instances. So that's one of the highlights that I would like to put out there, that we take pride in. We try and make sure to keep primarily ourselves safe, but also the traveling public safe as well. Another thing with these classes, I think that everybody may have already forgotten, but A Street last year, I think between Jackson and Llewellyn, if I'm not mistaken, was really falling to pieces. And with the classes that we took, it gave us the understanding and the ability to take that road. What I would call most cities, they would just turn their back on it, let the contractors take care of it. Our department took that project to the next level, and we did a lot of prep work in the making of it and a lot of the final work after the contractors left in order to take that project and expand it out and make it happen in the short period of time. And we're only able to do that through the help of our coaches, and also, the program itself has given us those tools. The last class, I guess I would probably focus on, our group of classes were a bunch of communication classes, and as we know, sometimes we aren't the most well-liked people out there, and we have people that come up and frustrated with us. And classes give us techniques to work with those people. They've also given us techniques to work with each other, as well as our seasonal employees. We've got young kids. We've got 18-year-old kids that come on board that they want to go to work. We've got to teach them and coach them how to go to work, how to work with their personality, put them to work, get the most out of them that we possibly can for the best interest of the city, and put them in a position where, again, they'll be safe. So kind of highlights a few of the classes. I'm not going to take any more of your time up. So thank you for your time, and thank you guys for the opportunity to go through the T2 program and get the knowledge and skills that it's provided for us. So. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ, and don't run off. This is the second time this guy's been up in front of the council getting awards and working on classroom instruction and stuff, and somewhat modest. I got to tell you, Tyler and his team are doing a wonderful job on our roads throughout the city. And we meet periodically and we talk about these things, and these guys got a good plan down. And everybody in God's green earth knows dollars are tough to come by, but these guys do a wonderful job, ladies and gentlemen, so you can be proud of it. We're going to be doing a bunch of work, and they're always stretching and doing new things and learning new things and teaching us elected officials the direction we're going, and that's exactly what we need to do to keep the program going. So, AJ, thank you very much. Thank you for the team, Tyler. You guys did a good job. Give this guy another round of applause. Thank you, AJ. You bet. Okay, with that, this has been an exciting evening tonight. I mean, this is all fun stuff, isn't it? Sometimes it's not, we don't have these kind of fun nights. But tonight's a fun night. Now we got to do the Mayor's 2016 Earth Day Awards, which is absolutely one of my favorite things to do. And I'm going to come down there at the podium and do this. This is about our community, so... And it's exciting to see so many people here, not only for the swearing in of our new chief, but also the different things that we're doing from a sustainability effort here within our area. And I tell you, I am so proud to be able to speak about this. And actually, the things that I'm going to talk about right now, we've got 8 different areas that we're going to award. And personally, I have nothing to do with these other than be the great guy that gets a chance to present it. And I think that's wonderful because we got a bunch of community members that are continually striving to make our community better. And as I always say, it takes an army of people. Not one person can do it, not just a few people, but it takes a whole village and a whole army. And that's what we got here in Moscow, Idaho. And that's a wonderful thing about the diversity we have here in our wonderful town. And with that, I'm going to go on and start off with water champions. Is Mary Ingalls here? Come on up. Come on up. I don't know who this guy is. With this University of Idaho youth, So I'm going to put him on the spot. I'm Bill Neuer. Who are you?
Brant Miller.
Brant, okay, Brant. Stand right up here because you, this isn't Mary, everybody. This is Brant. Well, I'm going to read a little thing here. The summit that these folks do, the summit is a scientific conference for high school kids, students, hosted by the University of Idaho College of Education. The Confluence Project, TCP, works with Northern Idaho high school students throughout the year to help them learn about the watersheds through field experiences. Hands-on research connecting with local scientists. Students then develop their own research projects based on an important issue in their watershed and propose a science-based solution for it. And when I read that, I got goosebumps. I mean, that's a big deal. So, I forgot my awards. Hang on a second. I get so excited about these things. I've been, I tell people, give me the microphone, I just take off. Sometimes you never know what I'm going to say. But anyway, this is a wonderful thing. This is the award, Brent. Thank you so much. Tell me, I really appreciate it. We'll get a picture. Look at you. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure.
Do we have any of those high school kids here?
About 230 of them are at the Kenworthy right now.
Okay. Well, bring them on down here. We've cleared out the room. The top's up, so we're okay. Got to speak here.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much for this. It was really quite a surprise, and the timing of it's fantastic. So today was our Youth Water Summit, which is the culminating event of a year's worth of activities with 6 schools in northern Idaho. We have 2 here in Moscow, Paradise Creek Alternative High School, Regional High School, Moscow High School, all the way up to Sandpoint today. And today was a celebration of students' research. And so we had a full day of activities. We had President Staben all the way down to grad students that were judging these high school students' research projects. And we did a campus tour, and then we celebrated at the Kenworthy tonight with a film festival. So we're just wrapping that up. I'll head back over and probably present this to all the students here in just a few moments. So the timing's great, and I really appreciate the recognition.
We'll give them our appreciation, too.
All right.
One of the favorite things is when we get kids involved in our community doing things, holy smokes, it is a very, very important thing for all of us. And I love the fact that we get kids involved, because guess what? Kids are our future. I mean, they're the ones that's down the road a couple of decades from now. When I'm a real old geezer, they'll be calling the shots for us. And so this is great. This is part of the process for us. So I'm excited about that. Okay. The next organization I want to talk about is the Palouse Clearwater Food Coalition. Colette Phelps. Colette, come on up. And I'm not sure sometimes because I don't necessarily meet all these different folks. So, are you Colette? I am. Well, good. So sometimes I'm surprised. And if a guy would have came up, I would have known I wasn't Colette. So this is a certificate award, and I'm going to talk about you in just a minute. Hang on to that for just a second. Okay, the Palouse Clearwater Food Coalition, PCFC, is an ad hoc group comprised of representatives from the regional and community organizations, institutions, agencies, nonprofits, and retail businesses with shared interest in growing our local food system. The mission of the Palouse Clearwater Food Coalition is to strengthen the health and the vibrancy of the Palouse Clearwater food system and increase the production, distribution, and consumption of locally grown food and agricultural products. So, would you like to...
So, thank you very much for this award. It really is an honor. The coalition is a group of about 30 consistent individuals and organizations who have been working for 5 years to really create connections across our food system and increase access to local food. And we have really been looking at regional connections. So we started here in Moscow, and we branched out to include more people across the Palouse, and that's really exciting. We also have just launched a new initiative called the Camas Community Lending Network, and we're starting to look at concrete ways that local people can invest in food and farms in our region to expand the food system. So we have a website, pcfoodcoalition.org. And you're all invited to participate at any time or ask us questions. And again, thank you for the award.
Okay, our third thing is events that we're looking at. And under events goes our farmers market. Kathleen, I know I've seen you here earlier. Come on up. You know, our farmers market, and when I go to the state, I love this because I get a chance to brag all the time because we're the #1 farmers market in the state of Idaho.
Yes.
39 years now, right?
Yes.
This is our 39th year, starts first. Yeah. The Moscow Farmers Market has been listed as the champion for the environment. First in Idaho by American Farmland Trust rankings. The farmers market brings many local folks downtown each Saturday from May through October, many walking with their wagons or reusable tote bags or baskets in tow. The market encourages and facilitates purchases of local produce and other products, thus creating carbon footprint otherwise generated by transportation of out-of-the-season or otherwise long-distance products. The farmers market strengthens food security in the Palouse, keeps money locally, and allows SNAP benefits to be used for local foods. And I got to share with you guys, you know, we average 5,000 people on Saturdays when we have that open. And that's a big deal for our community. As the mayor of Moscow, and not only is that something from an economic standpoint, but it's fun. It's a social event for people. I go down there all the time. It's amazing.
You do.
I do. I do. I do. I show up down there, and I love it. It's great. So, Kathleen, would you like to say a few words? Oh, we'll get your picture here in a minute. Go ahead and talk.
Okay. Well, we wouldn't be a great farmers market if it wasn't for our citizens and people coming down to the market and enjoying the market and being a part of the market. Also, we have really great vendors, and that's really important because you can't have a quality farmers market without quality vendors. We're also very fortunate because in our region we have 2 land-grant universities with small farms programs. So kudos to University of Idaho and also WSU for growing our small farmers. And that's really important to our farmers market. And our Farmers Market Commission, just a plug for them. Good job. Thank you.
Told you this was fun stuff. This is exciting. I'm having a really good time tonight, and so I'm going to keep on moving. You know, and I could keep everybody here for hours. I'm not going to do that, though. I love to because I got a nice crowd here, and they're very tentative and listening to me, so I like that. But now we're going to talk about our business award, and this is going to go to Anytime Fitness. Rick Taylor. Rick, I met you earlier. Please come up. And I got to share with you, this is a workout place, and I've been a workout guy for decades.
I'm not Rick Taylor.
Well, I know you're not.
Teresa.
Hi, I'm Bill.
Nice to meet you, Bill. I'm Teresa.
You're Teresa.
Yep.
You're part of Rick.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so this is the boss right here for everybody. This is how these things work. But this is kind of a neat thing. This local business recently installed solar panels on the roof. With only one half of the system currently in operation, it has produced a total of 7.28 megawatts since the end of December. In March alone, the system generated 3.1 megawatts, and so far in April has produced 2.2 megawatts. They are working with the Legacy Group Northwest to monitor production and collect additional information like this, for example. To date, the system has saved more than 11,000 pounds of CO2 emission. This is equivalent to planting 284 trees. And here's the real perspective, also equivalent to powering 22,070 light bulbs for one day. Isn't that something? Anytime Fitness hopes to have the second half and second phase of this operating this month, essentially doubling the production. Over the year, they should have enough production to zero out a $750 a month electricity bill, and with federal tax incentives, credits, and USDA grant, the system will have been paid for itself in about 8 years. So I think that is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to get between this couple. I want to be right between this, man. This is great. This is great. Would you guys like to say something? Like to speak? Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thanks. Thank you for this award. I really appreciate it. We do. And, you know, it's really exciting to be able to produce energy from sunshine. And I didn't know it would be this exciting. I'm always looking at my phone app, seeing how much we're producing today, because it tells me it's a simple system to use. Anyway, thanks to Legacy Group Northwest and Wilder Construction for getting the system installed for me. Fantastic job they did. Before the end of the year, so I could get my tax, thing and all that stuff. Yeah, that was perfect. Anyway, I think we went down to the wire on that. But thanks again for this award, and thanks to Legacy and Wilder, and thanks to you, Mayor. Absolutely. Appreciate it.
One thing I wanted to mention, because I'm not quite halfway through, but I get a number of these things, and I have to go through them and kind of thin them down, because we've got multiple amounts of people and businesses and all throughout our community that are recommended for awards. But you do have to kind of slim it down a little bit, or I would have you here till midnight tonight. But the thing of it is those folks that didn't get selected, they're not slighted in the least, because they've done a wonderful job too, and so they get kudos from us as well. Now I want to go to a non-profit organization, and this one here, I hope I pronounce it right, Nimipu. Is that correct? Nimipu? Okay, great. You must be Elliot. We have Elliot and Moffat here. Nimipu Protecting the Environment. Come on up, folks. And I got to share with you, I seen this name here a while back when I saw one of the plaques on the trail. I saw that name, and I had some help, I must admit. I said, okay, I need to have some help with this, so I pronounce it right.
Nimipu,
Yeah,
correct.
And you're Elliot?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. And who's with you, Elliot?
Vonda Bybee. She's part of our organization.
Okay, what I'm going to read here about these folks. A highly active citizen group amplifies all goals of Moscow's sustainability mission. MPE is a group of tribal and community citizens operating within the Nez Perce Treaty area, which includes Moscow. Their mission is to educate the general public on the cultural aspects of the environment and to ensure protection of the natural resources in our area. Since the group was established in 2013, they have collaborated with other local groups, including Palouse Environmental Sustainable Coalition, Friends of the Clearwater, U of I Environmental Law Society, and the U of I Native American Law Students Association, to present well-attended workshops at both the university and other local venues. An October Environmental Film Festival at the Kenworthy, co-sponsored by the MPE, attracted one of the theater's largest audiences. This is great. And so with that, can I get right in the middle of you folks? I get excited and I start moving my arms around. You never know what's going to happen. I'm going to get right between you guys. And we're going to get a nice picture of this. Cheese. Yeah. Ellie, would you like to
Tatsalach. My name is Elliot Moffat. I'm also known as Et Palatka. And with me this evening is Vonda Bybee and Lucinda Simpson. Our founder, Julian Matthews, couldn't make it this evening, so we're stepping in for him. And we just wanted to express our appreciation to the mayor and the council members for this honor. And we look forward to continuing our relationship here on the Palouse. We've had many years of being here. We currently have students that are going to school, either they're Vandals or they're Cougars, and go Vandals, go Cougars. But and we have people that are working here, living and working here, and I want to thank our nominator, Pat, for this award. We work really hard with her, and I'm glad to hear some of the awards that went on this evening were the water that's teaching about the youth. That's what we're interested in also, and these other projects they're valuable for the community and also for the larger community that is the state of Idaho and our northwest region. So I applaud them also, and once again, thank you very much.
This evening, we'd like to honor the Mayor Lambert with this cup of the salmon in our appreciation for our organization. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so very much, and I drink lots of coffee and hot tea, so this will come in. Thank you so very much, folks. Okay, we're moving along. Now we're going to talk about an individual. Get my paper so I don't reread the same thing twice. This individual is the guy that we all know, and this is for individuals. This is Nils Peterson. Nils, come on up here. Come on up, Nils. I don't know how many years I've known Nils, a long time. And he's educated me on numbers of things over the years, which I appreciate. But come on up here, Nils. I want to talk a little bit about you. As a member of the Tree Commission, Nils initiated an Adopt a Tree pilot program. Nils has served on Planning and Zoning Commission, where he kept the aquifer and water sustainability issues in view. He gives presentations such as reducing your carbon footprint shared recently. He's interacted with other city commissions when working towards sustainability. Nils promotes smart growth to reduce Moscow's carbon footprint and employs many practices at home that provides great examples of good earth stewardship. And with that, Nils, I'll give you this, my friend, and we'll get a picture of it and we'll give you a chance to speak.
Thank you, Mayor, for this recognition. My daughter says I use the C word a lot. That is collaboration. This is not a recognition of me as an individual, but it is a recognition of a collaboration with many other groups and efforts around town. And it's appreciated that you are recognizing there's a variety of things that we are all doing to think about climate change and how to adapt our community to be more resilient to it. Thank you.
Okay, we have a city department award as well tonight, and this is for a certificate for our sanitation department. Tim. This is Tim Davis, ladies and gentlemen, and this is kind of interesting because we went to single stream recycling, and this guy here, how long have you been working on this? 3 years before we got it implemented? 2.5 years.
About the time we started the roll cart program, we talked about it then, and it took a few years. So.
Okay, and I got to share with everybody here that some people know this, but most people don't know this, is that, the mayor and the city council drove this guy nuts. I don't know how many times we had him in front of us, various meetings, and not only council meetings, but meetings with the admin and public works and finance. Anyway, this department, and this is through Tim's leadership, has worked diligently to start the city's single stream recycling program. And in the first month of implementation, there was a 200% increase in residential recycling and less than 5% contamination in loads that was sent to Republic Services Material Recovery Facility. Folks, that's a big deal. 200% in 1 month. And I knew that the numbers would be big, and it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, Tim. We've made the right decision. We've had a few headaches and a few lumps that we've taken, but like any other good program that you're going along with, you have a few knots put on your head from time to time, and this is one of them. But we're working through it. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, these guys get to hear me talk enough, but really the community of Moscow really embraced this program, and this award is rightfully due to the community of Moscow for really going at the recycling thing. So thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay, we have teachers awards, and let me tell you, I've got a soft spot for teachers. And we've got 2 of them, and I went back and forth. And when it involves kids, I love kids, and so instead of trying to select one of these folks, I selected both of them. And that is Shanti Norman from the Moscow Middle School and Patty Pancheri from McDonald Elementary.
Well, if I could get both those folks to come up here. And we're going to talk about, because I'm going to kind of do this even though we got two different groups, and I want to have, there's also some fourth graders from McDonald here. I'd like all those kids coming up here. This is our future, ladies and gentlemen, all these kids. Come on up here.
Okay, and first I'm going to talk about Moscow Middle School. Moscow Middle School, and this is under Shantae Norman here. She started the Earth Club which was an after-school program, organized waste audit at Moscow Middle School, and from that presented cost savings and logistics to the school superintendent. Started food composting program against adverse condition and little knowledge. This program is implemented and going very smoothly, diverts approximately 175 pounds of compost weekly from the landfill. That's a big deal. Now I want to go to Patty Pancheri from McDonald Elementary, and these are fourth graders. Your kids are all fourth graders here? Okay. Isn't this great seeing these kids? I love this. Yeah. And what they did here at McDonald's, they initiated Idaho Green Schools Challenge with fourth grade gifted and talented students. Through vermicomposting, will substantially increase nutrient content of existing composting for school gardens. Cost savings for the school is upwards of $800 per school year. Isn't that a big deal? I would like, first I'll have Shanti, would you like to say a few words first?
This is our youngest Earth Club
Yep.
member at the middle school.
You
She's
can
been
never
with
start
us-
too young.
yeah. She's been with us for a few years now and got to dig through the waste when we did the waste audit. That was really fun. And it was chili day. We chose a really good day. Yeah. Oh, yeah, not like chili, but like chili bean day. That was really fun. Can't wait for you guys to be there. So we started with this waste audit a few years ago with the help of Sandy Crooks from Moscow Recycling, and decided to continue on with the program and use that food waste, because there's a lot of it, unfortunately, to compost. And we started a school garden and just did our first planting just a few weeks ago. And I can't wait for these fourth graders to be there in a few years. Yeah, and had a lot of help along the way. Moscow Recycling, as well as PCI. We had an AmeriCorps volunteer that came to help out with us too. Donations from Backyard Harvest. So it was definitely a community effort. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the award. I really can't take any of the credit. We were challenged by our second grade teacher, Debbie Bell, to find a way to make our compost richer and our soil better for our school garden, which she oversees. And then she hooked us up with Sandy Crooks, who came in as our mentor, and she taught these kids how to set up the compost, how to check the worms, how to feed the worms. If you ask them, they can tell you anything about it. Don't ask me. They're the experts. So it's a really neat project for the kids. They're collecting data on the amount of compost that they're harvesting each week. They collect data on how much food they're feeding their worms. So it's just been a really great project for them. So in our class, we have Kira Radel, Kelly Stodik, did I say that correctly? Yeah. Max Piper, Millie Richards, and Julianne Tolman.
Jen, did you get a good enough picture? Okay, should we get the little girl right up front? Should we want to make sure?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes the Mayor's Earth Day Awards, but I want to say this. I'd like to give everybody here that's a part of this a round of applause from the entire audience one more time. Thank you so very, very much.
Oh, they're just going to use the excuse that it's bedtime.
That was a lot.
How's the voice?
That was cool.
What's that?
How's the voice
So
doing?
well, I'm running out of steam here. Okay.
I guess he got over it.
I did something and now it's like.
Okay, we will start with item number 7, which is the outdoor irrigation season amendment. Nicole's not here tonight, Les, or I haven't seen her. Is she here with you? You're running. Okay. Les McDonald is leading the charge on this then. I love it. That's my funnest thing.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The item that is before you next has to do with our current outdoor irrigation season ordinance. You'll recall back in about 2009, the City of Moscow adopted an ordinance that established the procedures and regulations pertaining to an outdoor irrigation season. And the intent was to address watering during the hotter periods of the year and to also work towards the ultimate goal of reducing the amount of water consumption from our 2 aquifers here in the City of Moscow. That ordinance and the program has worked quite well over the years, but there are a couple of little items that have come up through the process repeatedly that we felt it would be appropriate to address to just tweak the program slightly. And so there are 2 items that we are presenting this evening that we would like to have the council consider for modification of the ordinance. They have to do with the time at which the season opening must be declared and the ability to issue variances. Starting with the first of those, the way the ordinance is currently written, the season opening date is declared by the Public Works Director, but the code specifies that it must be declared and advertised by May 1st of each year. Now, on the surface, that doesn't really seem like it would be a problem per se, but if you take a look at some of the history of when we've actually opened the season, starting in 2009, you may see where some of the problem lies. So 2009 and 10, we did open the season on 1st of June, June 13th and 2011, back into May, late May in 12 and 13 and 14. And then last year being one of the driest and warmest springs we'd seen in a long time, all the way back to May 1st. Obviously, last year's was not really a challenge because May 1st is our deadline for declaring when the season will open. So it was pretty obvious at that point that it was appropriate to open it that same day, May 1st. But in years like we saw, particularly in 2009 through 2011, those opening dates are as much as 6 weeks after the opening date's supposed to be determined, declared, and advertised. Well, my crystal ball is not that good, unfortunately. So in spite of being able to work with our Parks Department, all the records from the National Weather Service and forecasting and historical records, it's really difficult to be able to predict what the weather conditions will be 6 weeks in advance. So that has created problems. And so what is proposed before you this evening is a change to the ordinance that would remove a date certain, the May 1st date, and allow it to be flexible such that the opening of the season would occur 72 hours after I declare it open as the Public Works Director, and it is then published that is the upcoming date. So that would give us the flexibility to monitor conditions, recognize the fact that we may get a warm week early in the season like we've had this past week, and yet precipitation is on the way this coming weekend and may continue on for another week or two. So those types of things are the ones that I really pay a lot of attention to in setting the dates and determining, okay, what's the moisture content in the ground? Is it really as dry as people think it is, or is it time? Is it time to declare the season or not? So this change would give it the flexibility to handle those late opening season years, but also then be able to open early if that's appropriate. So that's the first change. It is in Section E of the draft ordinance in front of you. The second item has to do with variances, and the current code allows us to grant a variance to the conditions of the ordinance as it pertains to when watering is allowed. And the section that it is within leads our legal counsel over the years to conclude that the variance process was only eligible within the season, and the variance would be only applicable to the hours of day that are specified within the code. The code does say that you cannot water between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. during the irrigation season. It says watering outside of the season is prohibited, just period, outright. And there's no opportunity for variance outside of the season. Within the season, we can and have issued a lot of variances pertaining to hours of day, and they typically are applied for because people have planted new lawns or new landscaping. And if you are familiar with planting new grass in a lawn, when it's a hot day, you need to water it 4 or 5, 6 times a day, otherwise it will dry out and you'll get a lot of die-off on the seeds. So we have folks that request variances for that purpose. There are times, though, that people choose to plant earlier in the year, and it actually is a recommended practice in that because there's more moisture in the ground earlier in the season, there's better opportunity for the plants to germinate, the seeds to germinate, and to take root. But there are periods, such as this week, prior to the season opening, where you would still need to provide supplemental water to keep those seeds growing and keep them flourishing. If you plant earlier, generally speaking, you see lower water consumption for the establishment of that lawn, because by the time you get to the drier season where you need supplemental irrigation, the seed propagation's already occurred and the grass is well on its way. So overall, generally we would see lower consumption for earlier plantings. The current code does not allow us to provide a variance outside of that season. What's proposed before you as a second change tonight would be that the Public Works Director could, by variance, allow watering for newly established lawns and landscaping. We did put that limitation in there that it's just for those purposes so that we don't end up with a flood of folks saying, hey, I'm going out of town for a month, I just want to get my irrigation system cranked up. No, that's not what we're looking for. We're still trying to conserve water, but recognize that there's a benefit to planting early and to facilitate that for those new landscapes. So with that, any questions I will attempt to answer for you.
Okay, Art.
Just one question that occurred to me. Does the modification of the start date for the irrigation system have any impact on the inspection and certification of backflow regulators on underground irrigation systems?
It should not. That is something we deal with already today. We do work with vendors that are starting up irrigation systems, doing the testing, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. That's an allowable approach because we don't consider that to be irrigation of the facilities. They're just making sure the equipment works. They do have to put water in it, make sure it flows, okay, good, and then they shut down. And so I don't see that we would have any changes in that situation.
Your Honor.
Dan?
Less watering by hand with your hose, that's not counted as part of the irrigation
season? Outside, that is an item within the season. Okay. The way the code is written, the time of day restrictions do not apply to hand applied. So if you have a hose with a shut-off nozzle, then it's not applied to that. You can use that throughout the course of the day. It's just set sprinklers, irrigation, underground systems, that type of thing that are prohibited during that daylight, right, or, heat of the day issue. Outside the season, it's a prohibited to irrigate your facilities, your lawns.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions for Les?
I do have a question.
Kathy?
It has to do with language. Do you think that most people think of using their sprinkler system as irrigation? And the only reason I thought of that is when you presented it, Public Works, that I thought irrigation, most people think farming, and they don't think of their lawns as that. And I wondered if maybe we might have to have clarification about irrigation.
It's a good question, good point. I don't know that we've had any real challenges with that. We've really had great success in working with the community on this. I mean, we do get folks, obviously we have a population turnover that occurs, with the changing students and such, but for the most part, we've really had a community that has paid great attention to this. Occasionally you'll get somebody that turns on a system early. Nicole or one of the other water department staff will go out and chat with them and just let them know that, oh, by the way, we do have this, and they've always responded well. Oh, so sorry, let me turn it off.
Okay.
And we've not had to really take it any further than that. People have been very understanding and pretty supportive. So yeah, I don't know if we've really had an issue with the language.
No, thank you for the clarification.
Mr. Mayor, just
Yeah,
for
sure.
clarification, under the definition of outdoor irrigation, it does say the act or process of watering or wetting, landscaping, grass, trees, plantings. I think it's pretty explicit.
Okay. Thank you.
Art?
I would make a motion to adopt the ordinance amending Moscow City Council Code Title V, Chapter 17, to modify the declaration of the irrigation season opening date and to allow for certain variances outside the declared irrigation system under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and it be read by title and published by summary.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Art and a second by Catherine to adopt the ordinance amending Moscow City Code Title V, Chapter 17, to modify the declaration of irrigation season opening date and to allow for certain variances outside of the declared irrigation season under the suspensions of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that be read by title and published by summary. I'll start to roll it down. Aye.
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 Okay, it was unanimous, 4-0, and this is ordinance 2016-5. Okay, ordinance 2016-5, an ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation in the state of Idaho, providing for the amendment of the Moscow City Code, Title V, Chapter 17, water conservation relating to the beginning date of the outdoor irrigation season, and allowing the Public Works Director to grant a special outdoor irrigation variance outside the irrigation season, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Okay, with that, we will move on to item number 8, which is Harvest Hills First Edition Preliminary Plat. Michael Ray, but before Michael starts, we've got 2 courses of action. The first course of action is to remove this item from the table where it was tabled at our February 1st council meeting for further deliberation.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to remove this from the table.
Second. Okay, we got a motion by Dan and a second by Jim to remove the item from the table for further discussion. Let's start the roll with Catherine.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, and so, Michael, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. Before you tonight, we have the continuation of the Harvest Hills preliminary plat from the February 1st council meeting of this year. Just wanted to remind the council of the property being discussed, outlined in the center of your screen, about 7.45 acres in size on the east side of Mountain View Road at the intersection of East 3rd and Mountain View. So originally we had 3 components of this proposal before you tonight. We had a comprehensive plan land use amendment to change the land use designation for the property. And that was adopted. Council conducted a public hearing and adopted Resolution 2016-01. We also had a rezoning component of the proposal to rezone a portion of the property. And that was adopted by Council on February 1st under Ordinance 2016-01. And then we had a preliminary plat, which is tabled from that February 1st meeting to have staff work with the applicant to address some on-street parking concerns within the subdivision. The preliminary plat proposal was for 22 twin home lots and 1 neighborhood business lot of 2.2 acres in size. Looking at the comp plan designation, what council adopted was the change from neighborhood conservation to a combination of suburban commercial and auto-urban residential. And then in the zone change, we went from the R2 moderate density residential zone to a combination of neighborhood business with a 2.2 acre parcel and medium density residential, which is our R3 designation. Brings us to the preliminary plat. So we had 22 twin home lots. Those ranged in size from a little over 4,000 square feet to about 6,500 square feet in size. The minimum lot size for the R3 zone was 3,250 square feet. And then we had the neighborhood business lot, 2.2 acres in size. Major concern for the council at the night was the 3rd Street extension being a collector designation through our thoroughfare plan of the comprehensive plan, which designates that as a 34-foot wide street section. Includes 2 5-foot wide bike lanes on both sides of the street with no on-street parking. This was the preliminary plat. You can see the extension of 3rd Street. West side is Mountain View Road here. We've got the 2.2 acre neighborhood business parcel, and then you have the 22 twin home parcels within the R3 zone here. Looking at our thoroughfare plan, this is what designates the roads within the city, and as you can see, the dashed line in green there represents a future collector designation, and that's why the applicant's required to construct to the collector standard for the 3rd Street extension. Just to show you what the collector detail looks like, once again, 34-foot wide road section with 2 5-foot wide bike lanes on both sides, 2 12-foot wide travel lanes, then you have the tree lawns and the sidewalks on either end. There is an option under the current street standards within our code to allow on-street parking. It's just that the roadway would need to be expanded by 9 to 10 feet to allow parallel parking on one side of the street. And just so everybody's clear, just wanted to go through the prior actions that we've been through. We conducted the public hearing on February 1st of this year, closed the public hearing. Council ended up deliberating on the proposal. The preliminary plat was tabled, ended up directing staff to work with the applicant. The concern was no on-street parking within the subdivision, and where were guests and visitors able to park should they frequent some of the residences within that subdivision. Staff ended up meeting with the applicant and working with them to develop an on-street parking proposal. The applicant's proposal before you tonight includes 9 on-street parking spaces on the north side of 3rd Street for your consideration. And with that, staff recommends the council approve the preliminary plat for Harvest Hills Edition with the following 3 conditions recommended by staff. These are all coming from the Public Works Department. That the applicant widen 3rd Street from 70 feet to 80 feet near its intersection with Mountain View Road, and this is in order to accommodate the left-hand turn lane at that intersection. And then the applicant enter into a new memorandum of understanding and development agreement which allows the deferral of the construction of Jansen Street, including all underground utilities, to future plat additions to the east. And the applicant shall provide 9 on-street parking spaces on 3rd Street consistent with their proposal. Should this be approved, we'd like to adopt the proposed reasoned statement of relevant criteria and standards that's attached to your packet tonight. And I'd certainly be able to answer any questions that you might have about this.
A couple of things, just for the general public to know, this is not a public hearing because that did take place, in fact, February 1st. So this was something that was tabled and was brought back off the table tonight for further discussion. A question I've got for you, Mike, is have you got any kind of a drawing or anything of where these 9 parking spots are? They're going to be, is there any kind of a, there's 9 on-street parking spaces. Do we have any kind of a visual to show folks that?
It's my understanding that they're going to be located on the north side, adjacent to the neighborhood business parcel, but the applicant certainly could come up and try to answer that question.
I think that would be a good question because that was a heavy discussion during that February 1st meeting, so I think that'd be appropriate, Mike.
Scott may be able to help me on this in case I stumble. But on the neighborhood business portion, since the interior of that has not been designed yet, the access points aren't fixed. And so to design the parking at this point as a fixed portion on the north side of the street, we may end up running into a situation where we say, well, here's the parking, and then find that we have to shift it around on account of the access points. And for that reason, we haven't tried to come up with a fixed location for those spots because they'll essentially be determined after the design of the neighborhood business portion, and those access points are fixed.
Okay, question here is, I don't know if I got any juice. You got any,
The goal would be to
talking
have the
about-
9 spots along the neighborhood business portion, though, on the north side.
These things.
Here's Jim's got a live one.
This one's work.
Okay, right along here it'd be somewhere from here to down here, is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
that's my assumption, is
So-
that they would be in there.
In this area?
At the same time, not knowing the final design there.
No, but
it would
we-
have to work within those access points. But yeah,
Those are
that's
the
our
two-
goal.
Okay, those are the 2 points you're talking about.
Phil, if there was no access there, how many spots would fit there, end to end? If
Oh,
there
that's
was
a
no
Scott
driveway,
question.
maybe Scott knows that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, at some point, we have to be careful that we're not putting parking next to Third Street, so we work with Public Works to bring that back. We could.
Next to Mountain View.
Yeah, Mountain View.
Yeah, Mountain View, I'm sorry. So, really, we need an access point to the neighborhood
Right,
business.
but if there wasn't one, how many total feet of availability do you have there?
We could probably get in 10 parking spaces without an access, maybe 10 and a half, put in some compacts or something. But it really is tight to get our access and parking in there. We looked at it. That's really the maximum we could squeeze in and gain access to the commercial site.
Yeah, it seems pretty tight. 1.5 parking spaces for the access seems kind of skimpy.
Yeah. Well, the access would be 24 to 30 feet wide, and so a parking space is 23 feet.
They're saying
in length.
23 feet for a parking
Yeah.
space.
Jim Les has got a point he wants to make over.
If I may, just a point of clarification. As Third Street approaches Mountain View, there will be a street widening with a center, a left turn pocket as you approach the intersection. So where that taper begins typically is where parking would end. So it would be set back some distance from the intersection. From there on back towards the east is where we typically see parking.
That was the difference where Mike had brought up this from 70 feet to 80 feet. That was the change
That's where
you're
that
talking about.
transition goes from 70 to 80. Well, that's in the right-of-way, but in that area, the road itself will widen to accommodate a left turn pocket. Typically, you would end the parking at the beginning of that transition.
Relative to the rest of the street section, is that still going to be what we saw the last time with the separated bike lane sidewalk to the south side?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
none of that changes?
So the south side stays the same as what you would see, and then the north side, we extend that right-of-way out and push the parking out into that area. So yeah, we've looked at a lot of different options, but we didn't want to set it in stone in a council meeting and then be locked into something that isn't workable for the commercial site.
So would you say worst case scenario, if the way things work out, it ended up 8, that would probably be as much as it would have to be cut down if there was some contingency that went on there?
Well, no, I believe we can get 9 in there, but it's
just don't know how there'd be spaced.
Right. The spacing, whether we put some to the west or all of it to the east of the access.
I think you're addressing what we're trying to get to is the reason the request was to have the additional parking was for the people that are living there, and I know they don't want it stuck. They don't want to lose it like it's too far away from them. I know that that's what you're trying to make sure not happen. Right. So that's why the looking for more specificity, thank you, on location. I think that's what it.
Well, ideally, it would be in the middle section of the commercial lot towards the eastern side of it. But depending, if we do change the access, like I said, we don't want to, hamstring the project just because of that.
Dan, did you have a?
Yeah, for Mike. Can you go back to the conditions? I think it's slightly different than what's in the packet here. Okay, well, it's not that different. But on the third one, we're only talking about shall provide 9 on-street parking spaces on Third Street. Now, anything that happens here, does that affect the next plat or the development to the east, or would that be new conditions should something happen up there that we would want to require parking up there as well.
It would just be for this plat. Likely it'd be another plat that would move forward further to the east, and the council would be able to review that at that time.
So we don't have to have anything explicit in here saying there may be more. Something hit me that, we might not be stepping far enough ahead, but as long as we figure we're going to have conditions on the next section as well, then I'm okay with it.
Well, that'd be a new public hearing.
Yeah, that'll be a new process, new plat, so the council will have the opportunity at that point in time to impose those conditions if they so choose.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'd make a motion, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we go ahead and approve the preliminary plat for Harvest Hills Edition with the 3 conditions presented by staff, and I don't have to read them because they're up there on the screen.
Okay.
And do we adopt the
Yep.
reason statement later, or can we do it in this same motion?
Should be able to do it in the same motion.
Yeah, we can do the
I
whole
would
thing.
go ahead and also adopt the reason statement and the relevant criteria and standards as presented.
I would second that rather broad motion.
Okay. We have a motion by Dan and a second by Jim to approve the preliminary plat for Harvest Hills Edition with the 3 conditions recommended by staff and the adoption of the proposed reason statement or of relevant criteria and standards. Everybody understand that? I'll start with you, Catherine.
Aye.
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 Okay, very good. Move on. Thank you, Mike. Thank you
So long.
for that. Good work on that. Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is number 9, barrier loaner program. Tyler is around here somewhere. It's been good to have Tyler here all evening tonight. The only guy longer than him is Dwight, so that's good too. Dwight.
And we're going to get back to the fun stuff here. All right. Okay. As was mentioned, we're here to present what we're calling the Barrier Loaner Program. This is something that we presented to committee last week as a report, and it was requested that we bring this before the council. There are several events that are upcoming that would potentially want to take advantage of this sort of program, so we wanted to run by the council and see what kind of feedback we could get. You'll recall that last year the council passed some updates to an ordinance that would allow for beer and wine gardens in association with public events in the right-of-way. We previously had an ordinance that would allow for it in city parks, and the update of the ordinance allowed for it in the right-of-way so that for events like there was recently an ordinance for Art Walk that came before the council. Those types of events, we could have beer and wine gardens established, and we've had people take advantage of them. People have really liked them. We've had local businesses. The idea was to keep Moscow's downtown a vibrant place. We want it to be an attractive place that people want to come for events. And so it's great that our business community has embraced this ordinance, and we've had several businesses hire bands and set things up in the right-of-way. And the great thing that we're seeing this year is we're starting to see them collaborate with one another. And so 2 or 3 businesses are getting together, and they're holding events. And so this is something that we think is great. Down the road, things like an Oktoberfest or something that can really be an attractive addition to the activities in our downtown. One of the problems that we were running into, and really the only issue that had been brought up since the passing of the ordinance, was a lack of consistency with the way that the beer and wine gardens were established. It's something that we've run into with other similar type items downtown. For example, last year we passed our new event closure policy for the traffic control downtown, because it's something where we really as a city want to use our institutional knowledge to help remove barriers that would otherwise keep people from holding events, and that's something that we did with our road closures, because the average person who doesn't deal with this every day, they don't know what barriers they need or where to get them or how to get them set up. And so this program is kind of a similar approach as far as helping them have the right equipment to properly establish the beer and wine gardens. And so the city has 50 barriers that were procured through a Department of Homeland Security grant, I guess about 15 years ago. And the barriers have been not very frequently used because they are for emergency events, special events, things that we need to do crowd control on. we've checked with Homeland Security to make sure that this proposed use would be in line with the grant, but and they indicated that it would be something that we could use it for. And so what we were proposing is that we start a program by which we make these barriers available to the applicants for these types of events, so that we can have consistent, compliant barriers available for it. And so then there really wouldn't be any excuse when the police go to enforce this for someone not to have a consistent, compliant barrier because we've made them available. And so that's the intent of what we're going to do, or what we're proposing tonight. I'm going to have Tammy Gray, who's here with me, talk a little bit about how we would implement that program and what that interaction would be.
Hello.
Hi.
Currently, the Streets Department has two similar programs. We've got a litter pickup program and the banner program that I manage. We schedule and I keep track of on a calendar who's got what, when. We want to make sure with this program that the police events take priority with the barriers. Should something arise, come up, we'll put that in place on the applications, and make sure that people know first off that should something arise, well, that's going to take precedence. Once the events are approved, we'll make sure that they get the application and it comes to me for scheduling, and we'll get that approved, and I guess it comes back. The people applying are responsible for coming in, scheduling, picking them up, and bringing them back, and we'll just inspect when they bring them back. So I guess
Yeah, we think that we can keep this a fairly simple process. It's something that the application can be included with the application packet, because the applications for the events themselves are already coming through and being approved by the council. So we would include an application for a barrier, something that they can select to do or not. But if they choose to apply for the barrier, then that would go through the approval process, and then it would come over to us. We would schedule it. We'd have the caveat that if any of the barriers were needed for any emergency use, that we would retain the right to recuperate the barriers, to go take them back and use them as needed. In addition, we would be keeping with the initial program, as we saw how things worked, we'd be keeping 25 barriers in reserve that we would keep for police uses only, and so we'd make 25 available initially and kind of just see how it goes and see how that might work. As Tammy mentioned, they would schedule a pickup time. They'd come pick them up themselves. These will fit in the back of a pickup truck. They're pretty light and easy to move around. And then they would drop them, and then they'd schedule a time to drop them off, at which point we'd do an inspection, make sure there weren't any missing or damaged, count them, make sure they're all there. And so any missing or damaged barriers, there would be a $110 fee to recuperate the cost of that barrier. And then we would have a fee. In this proposal, we have a fee, a $2 fee per barrier. And so if someone wants to set up, the normal size barriers that we're seeing would probably require about 10 lengths of these. They're about 8-foot lengths. And so you could set up an enclosure that would be about the size of a lot of them that we're seeing with about 10 barriers. So that would be $20 that the applicant would pay in the fee, and that would cover the eventual replacement of the barriers and then any administrative costs that we incur just running the program and keeping it operating. We think that's a pretty fair fee. We think that that's something that would be pretty palatable to people versus going out and trying to figure out what they're going to use and grabbing some rope here and a sawhorse there. If they can have something that they know is going to be compliant and that our police department is going to be happy with when they arrive to inspect, that we think that that's probably going to be something that will be well responded to. And so, that would require the fee schedule to be opened up, because that fee would have to be added then within the fee schedule. So with that, we're open to any questions you might have about what we're proposing.
Tyler, I'll get to these guys here in a minute, but it seems to me as many new events and different things with beer gardens and wine gardens that we're having in our city, and that's going to continue to grow because there's been success with that without any problems. And so I think this makes total sense, and they're all the same thing, so that they would be unique so that people would get used to them, and I think it makes sense. I know Jim and Art both had.
Yeah. At Public Works and Finance, there was some discussion about the conforming height of the barriers versus what's in the code.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with that?
Thank you, Art. Yeah,
Art, 4 feet or something, or 44 inches, or.
And currently each event has required its own. Rod, help me.
Its own what?
Resolution. Thank you. Its own resolution, and so within the resolution, there was standard language used within the resolution that called out for a 48-inch barrier. These are 44 inches high, and so as we move forward, those resolutions would be updated to reflect the height that would be used for the barrier. Is that
any issue with that, Rod? For any?
No, I think there's a sample resolution in there with a changed language in it in your packet.
Okay, did you have the same
No,
question?
that's
Jammer?
what I was.
Dan?
I had a couple. So I think in admin, we talked a little bit about a damage deposit, but so are we going to go away from that for now and see how it works? I know that's what John kind of was thinking, was to stick with, maybe just the minimal fee.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, and maybe it's a question for us up here, are we going to require that this is the only type of barricade for a beer garden, or really we're only going to have 25 available at any time if we're trying to keep the other 25 for emergency use? That at that size is really going to only allow 2 to go at a time. So we're still going to be allowing the other style, say with a snow fence or something like that.
As long as they were compliant and met those stipulations of the height and they have the established point of ingress and egress and those sorts of things, that's the thought. Now, what we talked about with Gary, our city manager, our city supervisor, was the idea that we'd see how the program went, and if it was successful, we could potentially look at adding more barriers if it's something that the community really responds well to, and potentially we could we could see how many we hold in reserve and take a look at that stuff and see what we can make available.
Well, here's a point. This would be for Rod, because anytime an event's held, you could have 4 people that need different resolutions because they got 4 different things going on. This is hypothetical. And each one of those resolutions could address that, couldn't it, Rod?
Yeah, you can have it address whatever you want to be your resolution.
So our barriers would be held as a first come, first served, just like we do with the banner program. So we eliminate any favoritism or anything else. You get on the calendar, you're the first one to ask for it, you're the first one to get it.
Then I guess the next thing, if we start getting more, how hard are these to store? I mean, how much room is this going to end up taking up?
They really don't take up much room, Dan. They overlap when they sit next to each other, and so the feet overlap where they store, and so they can be pretty. They're pretty compressed. You can put them in a pretty tight space. I mean, we've got 50 of them, and they're probably stored in the distance between me and Catherine.
Okay. Art?
I would make a motion to approve the Barrier Lunar Program, allowing for the city barriers to be used for permitted beer and wine gardens and other events in city parks and rights-of-way, and to go ahead and complete the study, see if the $2 fee is applicable with the other stipulations that we had involved. You break it, you buy it, and that the police can recoup their barriers at the drop of a hat if needs be.
Okay, now, okay, did you second that, Catherine?
I did.
That was a pretty long.
He just was addressing.
Okay, well, let me finish this so I can make sure. The ad lib after the rights of way are included within the resolution, correct?
The things that Art talked about would be in that resolution.
Yeah, I believe so.
Is that right, Rod? Okay, so the $2 fee, the damage fee, and the other things that Art was talking about, it will be in the resolution. That does not need to be part of this motion.
Well, I thought you were going to do it as a trial first without the fee, and then adjust it if they need the fee.
No,
It was not his proposal.
So I have a question.
Okay,
then.
Dan.
And maybe this is for Gary and for staff. So if we, once we approve this motion, go ahead and direct you guys to amend the fee resolution, that'll have to come back for us next meeting then.
Yeah, we'll look, if I may.
Yes,
We'll
go
look
ahead,
at, may have some other things that we need to bring in. As you know, if you're implementing a new fee or
increasing a fee
Right.
5% or more, you have to have a public hearing.
Right.
So it'll be a couple of meetings before we can do that, but we'll get it done as quickly as possible.
Okay. Okay, so,
We'll change those last ad libs into direction for staff.
okay, so the motion,
So in the interim, before we pass the fee thing, could you loan them out for free? If we pass the approval of the loaner thing? And then when we institute the fee, then the fee will come on then? So if there were things that happened in the interim, they could go ahead and happen?
Yeah, if we were directed to do that, we'd follow the direction
Got a
that
beer
we
garden
received.
that's coming up?
Well, there were at least 2 on the consent agenda.
We'll hurry
Tonight.
with the fee resolution.
And
Okay, so-
the one in May probably would not be using at the Ren Fair.
Yeah, they probably have a different thing anyway.
okay, the motion by Art and the second by Catherine was to approve the barrier loaner program allowing the city berries to be used for permitted beer and wine gardens for events in city parks and right-of-ways, period. Right? Okay, Dan, we'll start with you.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you very much, Tyler. Thank you, Tammy. Okay, now we have number 10, status report on Blackbird Crossing Trail Station project. And Dwight, you have the floor, sir.
With our last tenacious audience members waiting patiently for Dwight.
Okay, there you go.
Dwight's always a draw.
All right, well, thank you. We were asked to provide a status report of the Blackbird Crossing Trail Station. This is a project that has been in the works for, I don't know, about a good 13 years. It's evolved over time, but the City Council approved a concept of what it would look like, and also authorized private donation and grant type for people to look for those funding for this. It would not be a city sought out funding mechanism. And so over time, well, let me just start off with this. This is what it looks like. And it's pretty cool. And and basically, it's just a rest area. It's a meeting place on the trail. It's a place to, once we get it constructed and it grows a little bit, it'll be a little oasis right on the trail for people to stop, get a rest, meet some people, drink some water, take care of their pets, and before moving on. And it's just, if you remember where the NRS warehouse is, the old Tidyman's building, it's just right at the northeastern corner of their property, where the pathway goes. And this is an existing trail station just out of Pullman, and this was what we envisioned in concept what this would look like. Granted, they have a privacy fence in the back, there's a parking lot in the back. We'll have the Troy Highway in the back. But we're just trying to make a nice place so that people know where to meet. They can say, let's meet at Blackbird Crossing. This is an aerial of where that's located. Of course, there's the old Tidyman's, there's the pathway, and right here on the north side of the trail is where this would be located. And of course, the mall is across the street. Just a close-up of where that's at. That's looking across Troy Highway from the path. This is from Blaine, looking east. You can see there's, I don't know if that was an old road or right-of-way type access point. And another aerial. You can see this is the footprint of where that would go. And we saw that already. And this is where we're at. Now this is updated. We're talking about $41,575, and $1,575 of this has already been expended. That's what it costs to come up with the design. But what we have from donations, 16 different donors, is about $7,163.14. And that's pretty much where it's been for a while. And there have been some noble attempts to get people interested, and people want this, but just the money just hasn't been coming in. Several people, Margaret Littlejohn, who has since passed away, she was very active in trying to get attention to this, get donations. Former Mayor Nancy Cheney was really big on this. But this is where it's been for a while. Each year in the budget process, of course, I allow for the total amount, which was at $35,000, so that we could accept enough donations to get going on this if we got the money. But this is just where it's been. There's a space in this project for public art. The furnishings would be top grade because it'll get a lot of heavy use. Electric service and water is something that still has to be run in, and those would be some of the higher end costs to this project. And really the status is, as far as staff, is what we're looking at. I mean, it was kind of interesting timing of the request for this, because one of the things that we're working on within the Parks and Rec Department is what more things we can do in-house instead of going out. What resources do we have that we can get things going? And in this particular case, if I can go back a few, well, yeah, right here. You can see where the footprint is. There will have to be some fill and things like that would go on through here. And so, I mean, what can we do with the resources that we have to take care of that, shore that up, get the footprint ready? That's one step. If we're having some paving projects going on in town, can we somehow get in on an existing project, get a deal on the asphalt and get it asphalted? The plants, the amenities, benches, things like that. We're almost overwhelmed sometimes by people wanting to donate the benches and things. I think this calls for 3 or 4 benches. The drinking fountain,
Dwight,
the plants and trees. It's something we could already get started on.
Well, the thought occurred to me while you're talking along here, because you got $7,000, not quite $7,200, and you got some of that's already filled, so it wouldn't take a whole lot, but on each end it needs a little bit of fill in order for it to go around, and then you're looking at an asphalt thing. What, you got any idea what that half-moon asphalt thing would cost? I mean, it seems to me like this thing could be kind of piecemeal together rather than, and that's kind of what you're saying.
That's pretty much what I'm saying.
You got people that want to donate trees, you got people who want to donate benches, so this thing could be piecemeal instead of looking at a $41,000 figure. I mean, maybe this thing is something that could evolve over a period of time by getting the layout first and then adding to it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I've been talking about, and I think it's doable. We might not get it all done, but we can get the things to make it functional. The asphalt, I don't know what that cost is right off the top, but
brought up a point. If there's something going on in town here, maybe a guy could piggyback.
That's
some
what
other thing
we're
going on
hoping.
Somewhere.
And the shoring up here, I mean, this is not just a matter of just throwing in some dirt. That has to be.
Well, that'd be rock and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
That you tamp down in packs. It isn't.
So that it stays there.
Yeah.
And but we have a pretty talented crew. Not to mention, Public Works has a lot of tools and resources that would be available. And so I think we can get a good start on this anyway. And the amount of money that's been donated, I know there's some frustration, people that donated the money and just no actions happening. So that's where we're planning to go with this, and that's our status.
Dan, you had a
Dwight, I know that right now some scofflaws are crossing through there and crossing over to the mall. Are we going to take that highway approach out when this is all said and done?
Hadn't planned to.
So, I mean, there's a lot of your fill right there if you do.
Well, true. And I don't know what the rules are. I mean, we have some right-of-way issues there with ITD, things like that. That's why we purposely kept this tight to the trail to avoid a lot of those issues. But
does that line go across here? Is that a right away there?
Yeah,
that line?
Yeah.
That's the right away, yeah.
So
Is that what that is?
Well, I would think that ITD would be fine with taking that approach out, and I'll maybe approach them about it, the approach, and see if we could get it maybe dug out and use that for fill around that area, because right now, I mean, if we leave it open, at some point, we're going to get enough people using it that we'll have to put a crosswalk there, and we kind of want to direct them down to where we have an actual crosswalk with a controlled one, and potentially a controlled one up at the other end as well, rather than crossing in the middle of the section.
Well, the plan was never for this to be a parking lot for bikes.
Right.
So people, I mean, we haven't come up with rules, official rules, but I mean, my view is that this would not be a place to park your bike and go across the street and go shopping or to the movie. This is a place you stop and leave with your bike.
Well, that's why I'm saying if we can remove that approach, that kind of would help our situation a little bit.
It could. And it's an idea. We haven't gotten that far yet. And there's other areas where we can possibly get some fill too.
Dwight, I'd like to, Margaret Dibbles here from the Path Commission. Margaret, can I get him to say a few words here to us?
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, this has been something that's been in the works for, what do you say, 15 years now, or whatever, years?
2003.
Okay, 10 years, 12 years?
Yes, it has been in the works for quite a while. We talk about it at the
Margaret,
Pathway.
could you identify yourself?
Oh,
for
sorry,
the
I'm
record,
Margaret
please?
Dibble, 1131 Jackshaw Road. Yeah, we talk about this at Pathway Commission meetings every now and then. We also talk about it at Latah Trail meetings. I am president of the board of the Latah Trail Foundation, and we're holding some money that was donated in Margaret Littlejohn's name, although it was donated to the trail. We know how important this was to Margaret Littlejohn. So, I'm all in favor of Dwight's approach of doing something, because people are very eager to donate benches, trees, and if there were a little something there, that would be an encouragement to do so. It's unfortunately a rather unattractive section of the path, and it doesn't really inspire people to say, oh, I want to put a bench there. It's pretty bleak. And another issue that we have talked about at Pathway Commissions is the name of it. We, some of us, feel that Blackbird's Crossing is not the best name in the world because we don't want people to cross there.
There you
go. Some of us, I haven't got an official motion on this, but maybe we can do this.
Maybe
we would
Blackbird
prefer the
Landing
name.
Would be better.
What's that? We were thinking Blackbird Station.
Okay, well, there you
yeah,
go.
Something that didn't encourage people to cross. As you can see, there's a very well-marked trail there, and people do cross. And, maybe some well-placed, prickly but attractive bushes would help. Anyway, I do urge you to, from both the Pathways Commission and the Latah Trail point of view, to go on with this. And I think if you start to build it, they will come, and they will come with money. So thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Sometimes we look at a project or something, and we get this total cost, and we look at the whole envision of the thing without ever getting started on it, and holy smokes, and now all of a sudden it's like 12 or 13 years later. I mean, gosh, it seems to me like we could do something. Dan, you had something.
Yeah, I guess, Dwight, are you looking for direction from us then tonight, or we're just reporting?
We were just asked to give you a status report.
Okay.
Well, I got to share with you, I was the guy that asked for that, Dan, because I had no idea where we were at on this thing. And
I know we've got a lot of questions about it.
Yeah, and we've talked. This thing has been kicked around for way before I was on council the first time, a decade ago. So I just kind of wanted to see where we're at. So I like the idea of doing something. We do have $7,000. Let's see if there's something we can't do with that to get us started, and see if we can't get some more enthusiasm from others saying, hey, these guys are doing something, so maybe we'll throw a bench, or here's a couple of sycamore trees or maple trees or whatever. We'll be more than happy to plant them and see what happens.
Since Les had presented the Moscow Greenway signage, would that be something that would go as a directional? Is that
no,
that wouldn't come
the
into
Greenway
that?
program is for streets, to get you through some of these tight streets and things like that.
To let them know they could get to the streets from the path, because they're not there yet?
I think the Pathways Commission is working on wayfinding signs
Oh,
to
okay.
assist with that.
Yep, they talked about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
This is, it's not, well, it's not a long ways, but it's not next to a corner or a street or anything. It's sort of out in the middle of the pathway.
Maybe,
Stretch.
maybe the next direction in this, Gary, in a way, should be taken to committee about this is what we got. Let's see what we can do with $7,200 or $7,163.44.
If I may.
Yes.
You've got a concept design up there.
Right, we get a design we've already paid
So I don't
for.
know that there needs to be, if the direction is to establish a course of action that may at least get it minimally developed with what we've got, we can certainly work to develop that and bring that back and seek committee direction on that. I don't know that it needs to come back to the council at this point, just to check in and say, hey, this is what we've got, this is what we think we can do.
Well, that's what I brought up
Yeah.
about the committee, bring it to the committee and let the committees know this is where the direction we're headed with this thing or something. Jim,
Margaret said that, the Latah Trail Foundation is willing to support this in some way, and I see Tom Carroll is here as well, and he's the ED of the Latah Trail, and maybe you could give us some insight on maybe what the number is that you might have available to augment this.
You're not committed to anything.
Yeah, just ballpark idea, but it's not a contract.
To mention numbers, but probably somewhere in the nature of $2,000.
Any little bit helps.
No,
That's for sure.
that's a substantial amount.
Yeah, I think
not
that
a
is
little
substantial,
bit.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think we've got sufficient direction.
Okay, good enough. Well, thank you,
All right,
Dwight.
thank you.
Thank you, Marty, Tom. Thank you for coming and sharing your ideas and information with us. And I appreciate the report. Okay, tonight we do not have an executive session tonight, everybody. So just let it announce that. So with that, we'll go right into reports. I'll start with Art.
We covered everything that was on the Public Works and Finance agenda. The Sustainable Environment Commission doesn't meet this week. They meet next week. Affordable Housing has not had a meeting since our last council meeting.
Yeah.
And the URA meets on Thursday at 7 a.m. in this room, so I have nothing.
You're waiting. Catherine.
I am now part of the 1912 Development Facilities Committee, and there were new members introduced, and it was a great meeting. We get to meet once a month, and the windows on the south are going to be in place coming in. That money that's been on hold for so long, as they've done around the building, so they should be finished in May, and so they'll be announcing what's going on. Really cool stuff about to happen.
Sweet. Thank you. Jim?
Let's see, Administrative Committee, we pretty much covered everything in the regular agenda and the consent agenda. And the other meetings I've been to were Pathways Commission, which we've covered in pretty good detail here, and also Transportation Commission, and Les stole my thunder with his picture of the Greenway sign, which should be up in the next month or so. There should be some of those up, and the wayfinding signs that'll say how far it is on your bicycle or walking to various points, and how long it should take you to get there should be posted by the end of this summer. So that's underway.
Dan?
Yeah, I made it to Arts Commission, and I guess there wasn't a lot of big news, but we do have they were glad to hear that we were approving their beer and wine resolution for Art Walk, which is coming up in June. Of course, Farmers Market's opening up first part of May there. And they did hire a new market manager. His name is Daniel Stewart. And talked about some other stuff. I didn't make it to the Palouse Knowledge Corridor meeting because work called. So gotta pay the bills. So anyway, their Be the Entrepreneur workshop is coming up. The boot camp. Let's see. I think it's June 12th through 16th, 2016. So that's going to be something. June's going to be a busy month with a lot of stuff going on. So that seems like it's always a fun deal, seeing the new businesses that are trying to get a foothold and see what's going on there. So a lot of busy work with that going on right now, getting everything lined up for those folks when that comes about. And that's all I've got.
Okay, Dan, well, I don't have a whole lot other than I want to share with everybody here the 22nd, this Friday, by U of I Bound block party downtown, and that's going to be a big thing for us. So any of you that are available, please come down to that. Yeah, I mean, this is all kind of future stuff, and I'll have a report on the airport board meeting next time as well. And then May 2nd, we open the ball field just
That's
for,
right. Oh,
and that's
can't
going to be a
wait.
big deal for us. And so I'd like to see all counselors and everybody we can possibly get out in town, because that's a big deal for
We'll
us.
cancel our council
To the high
meeting.
school.
And May 6th, Gary, I wanted to throw this out to council too, because May 6th, we got cleanup downtown, right? And that's a week before graduation, U of I graduation. So that'd be great to get counselors involved in that as well. So those things are coming up, folks. That, you have something for us, Gary?
Yes, we do have the Region 2 AIC conference at the University in Best Western on Friday. Great lineup of information. If you've not been through a budget process, want to learn basics of planning and zoning, land use, annexation, so on and so forth. It's a great place to get those sorts of basic concepts down. We'll have several staff members going to get, as you know, we're fairly young down in the finance department, and we have a new city clerk. So we're trying to get out there and get some training that way.
She needs
So
some training.
again, lots of good things going on. We're in the middle of preparing the budget. Draft budget should be ready for the mayor's inspection here in about 3 or 4 weeks. So we're moving right along.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn, folks.
I would so
Entertaining
move.
you.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We are officially closed at 9:17, everybody. Thank you so much.